So why 99% of businesses fail? There's stats out there. I remember growing up when I first got into business, there was a stat saying that in the first 3 years, businesses don't make profit. They're always at a loss. So for the first 3 years of any business that I started, I was okay with making a loss, not making any profit for the first 3 years, because to me, it was like, this is the way things happen. So don't expect anything great in the first 3 years. And I heard this so many different times, and it became a belief for me where every time I did something, the first 3 years, I wasn't even looking to make any profit. Imagine what sort of an attitude is that when you're going into business, right? Where you're year one, in fact, week one, you should be looking at making some profit. I want you to think about what I'm saying here. Why would you want to go 3 years without making any profit? Which means that you are not getting paid anything for 3 years. So you're working for free for the first 3 years. So imagine how many businesses have failed because they've got that mindset. They've got that belief that we don't make money. The first 3 years is all about getting to know the ropes. And I think that's absolutely ridiculous. And I don't even know where that actually came from. I think I might have read it somewhere a few times. Maybe I heard it on TV or something, or not even a podcast. There were no podcasts back in the day when I first got into business. And so we take on something that's been said and we own it without actually digging into the belief in the first place. Like, all right, where did this come from? Right now, I want to, if somebody says something to me, I want to know where the stats came from. I want to know the evidence. I was working with a mentor once, and we had an online business selling products. And one thing that he kept on constantly saying is you got to have 300 unique visitors to your website every single day. So where do you think my focus went on? Yeah, you got it. Trying to get 300 freaking visitors to my website, forgetting about servicing customers and customer care, promoting my products and services, and really putting myself out there. I was so focused on, right, how can I get 300 visitors? I need to do some SEO. I need to do some this, that, and the other. Well, that was the wrong advice. Now imagine you can have 300 of the wrong visitors on your site. Let's just say you're selling microphones like this, right? And you go getting 300 unique visitors. And guess what? Those 300 unique visitors are 7-year-olds. What are the chances of that happening, right? What's the chances of a 7-year-old saying, you know what, I need one of them? What he failed to tell me was the right type of traffic. So you've got to have traffic coming into your business. It's not just about grinding away working. You've got to have a strategy of some sort. You've got to set yourself KPIs. A lot of people, when they get into business, they don't really know what they're doing. They don't really have any advice. They're just making up the rules as they go along, learning on the job. And that's not the way you do it. If you want to do anything, right, you've got to have a strategy that's working for someone else, that's being proven. And what you do is you replicate that strategy. So when I first got into the coaching space, we didn't have a lot of like online stuff that we were doing back then. Everything was about seminars. And that was the way people did things, right? Seminars. So I transitioned. I wanted to go more online with my business. So I try to like let go of the old model where you're going into different hotels up and down the country, setting up live webinars. And that's a lot of work. A lot of people failed in the business because they didn't adjust. When COVID hit, pandemic hit, you could not do any more seminars. So all of those people that weren't willing to adapt and find a new way, guess what happened? They went out of business. But myself, I started to transition online. So I took the risks away of my business, right? So it's very risky because now I can't get any clients. I can't have face-to-face meetings with anybody. So what I did is I said, I want to go online. And luckily, I did that before the pandemic. Otherwise, guess what? Cash flow stops. How many businesses went out of business during COVID? But then again, how many new businesses were created out of COVID? See, that's good and bad. A lot of people focus on the negative. Whatever you're going to focus on, that's where you're going to end up. So a lot of people actually created great businesses during the pandemic. And I think that's amazing. So, and those people, it's your mindset it comes down to. It comes down to how you think. It comes down to how you react or you respond. Are you reactive or are you responsive, or do you just go with the flow? So 99% of businesses fail. Why? Why is that though? Have you ever asked yourself? You can have 2 people or 5 people in the same industry and 4 might fail and that one person is going to fly. Why is that? I want you to look at your industry right now and really look at the people that are really the movers and shakers, people that are really making it happen. What's different about them? Are they more ballsy? Do they have more guts, determination, and they're willing to take risks? A lot of people don't want to take risks. They don't want to invest back into the machine. They don't want to put any money in. They want to just like grind away, trying to build their business organically. And they don't really have the guts. They don't really have the work ethic, because you need to have work ethic. A lot of people shy away from doing the main activities that's going to really move the needle forward in their business, right? Now, I want you to think about how much time are you actually spending in your sales of your business? How much time do you actually spend getting new customers? How much time do you actually spend just focusing on all the small little things in your business right now that are not important? I'm not saying, like, a lot of people say, well, I've got to produce more stuff on social media. I've got to do this video and I can't get it right. Where you're totally missing out on creating leads, generating leads, servicing customers, bringing in more business, networking with people. So people often take the easiest route out, doing the least important activities. It's really important. I'm studying like Elon Musk a lot lately. I read something yesterday, like he's going to be the first trillionaire. He's well on the way. He's probably like, I think the top 13th person closest. I can't remember what it was. But I look at how he operates. I look at the way his mindset is and how he uses his imagination. Love him or hate him, the guy is an absolute genius. He's so good at what he does and the way he thinks. He doesn't think like your average Joe. That's why he is where he is. So where has your thinking been? I want you to analyze your own way of doing business. I want you to look at your structures that you have, your systems and processes that you have in place. When was the last time you actually invested in the growth of your business? Now, I'm talking about, let's just talk about lead generation, for example. How much time have you invested in making sure that you have a sufficient flow of new inbound leads coming in? Versus most people say, I ask people, like, how do you get your business? Oh, it's word of mouth. And they're so fucking proud that it's just word of mouth. You know, I'm so good at what we're doing, right? But word of mouth can only go so far, right? Before you exhaust that. I want you to understand that, right? So word of mouth has limitations. So if you're one of those people that is so proud that you built your business on word of mouth, congratulations. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm not putting you down, but that's great. But what if people stop talking? What happens then? Right? You got to have a way of consistently bringing in new flows of business, right? And then the other thing is, I was talking to somebody the other day and he's starting up a new business and he said, like, Mindy, I'm starting up a new business and I want to price my price fairly high, but then I don't have the experience as these other people do. So there's people charging $3,000 for what I want to charge 20,000 for. He goes, well, how do I do that? I said, firstly, you've got to have profit margin. You've got to have sustainability in your profits. Well, otherwise, guess what? If you can't afford to stay afloat, you can't stay, you don't stay profitable to keep your business going. Guess what? You can't pay anybody else. You can't grow. You can't invest more back into the marketing. So another thing where people fall down is they don't price their services profitably, right? They're so caught up with undercutting the competition. Like, I want to reduce my price down. I want to slash everybody's prices. I want to be the cheapest in town. You know, if I'm offering social media, I want to say, right, this is what we do. And, you know, we're cheaper than everybody else. I don't want to be the cheapest in the marketplace. I want to be the most expensive, because guess what? When you are the most expensive and you got a bigger margin, you also can bring in more talent. You can bring in more expertise. And so your positioning already by default, you got more to offer than your average Joe. I want you to think about this right now, right? 99% of businesses fail. Why is that? There was a stat about how many businesses make it past year 5, year 7. And it's kind of crazy. It's just a mindset thing. If you accept the fact that you got to start making money from day one, your intentions will be a lot different. Your responsibilities will be different versus like, we don't make any money for the first 3 years. I mean, what sort of a mindset is that to go in? That's a failure mindset, right? You can't be going in like that. Think. Allow yourself to do your own thinking for you. Don't let media do your thinking for you, because there's lots of stuff that we can read online, lots of different studies that are done. I'm not really interested in studies. I don't really read a lot of studies. I really don't. Because look, these studies are based upon someone's opinion, right? So now let's say that I turn around, I've got influence. Just imagine I've got like 10 million followers on my fucking Insta, and I don't, by the way, right? But imagine if I had 50 million followers and I was a business expert and I came out with some sort of stat and I said, you know what? You don't make any profit for the first 2 months, but month 3 you will. Now, imagine how much more of a positive belief that is versus these people believing that it takes 3 years before you make any profit. Now people's mindsets will change. They're like, hey, listen, month 2, we should be aiming to make profit. Versus you make profit. You don't make any profit for 3 years. You see that influence and you hear it from somebody influential, and then you're going to start to believe it. And as you start to believe, you start to attract things to you. Okay, so be careful where you take your advice from. Start thinking for yourself. If somebody says something, don't just buy into it, right? You got to reevaluate where they're coming from. I remember working with the mentor, and they said, you know what, Mindy, it takes 6 months for a client to come into your ecosystem, for them to actually convert into a paying client. I'm in the high ticket space, right? So I thought that's an interesting view, that is, right? So it takes someone 6 months to come into your cycle before they buy from you. And straight away I thought that's a load of bullshit, because I know that I get people coming from month 1, all right, and they'll buy in month 1. Because why? Because I didn't have that belief that it takes 6 months. That person had that belief, and other people want to listen to that person that it takes 6 months, right? It takes 6 months to. So guess what you expect? 6 months. It's all cool, right? No urgency in that. But I'm telling people, like, you can take somebody in from cold to close, right? Cold meaning they just found you and they close. Most of our clients that we find, they find us and they work with us in month 1, month 2. We don't have a massive long sales cycle. Now, why is that? Because I've got that inner belief that, hey, it doesn't take 6 months, right? In our space, when I first started to train in the coaching space, we were taught how to do sales. And they were taught like two call closes, which means that you have 2 calls with a prospect. The first one, you get to know them and stuff. You send them away, give them a bit of homework to do, and then you schedule a second call. Now, to me, there's a problem for me. All right, I've spent time getting them on the first call, right? Might have 5 attempts to get them on the first call, 5 attempts, contact points. Like, hey, listen, let's get on the call. Now, imagine it takes me 5 attempts to get them on the first call. How many attempts is it going to take me to get that person on the second call? Maybe it's 10 attempts in total. Fuck that. I want to do a 1 call close. Look, I want to close somebody in the first call. I'm not interested in having a second call. In fact, very rarely do I have a second call. Have I had a second call with prospects? For me, if they can't make up a decision to come in call 1, I'm like, do you really have what it takes? That's what I look at. If I have to convince you, I have to drag you kicking and screaming to buy what I've got, am I going to enjoy working with you, and are you going to get the best results? No. So I took on a different belief. So I want you to challenge yourself on what are some of the beliefs that you have right now that are not serving you well. And I bet there's a ton. Grab a pen and paper and write down, like, it might be beliefs about how much you can charge, right? I'd love to charge more, but I can't because no one will pay. I hear that so many times. Well, you won't be able to charge anybody more because you don't believe that you're worth more. Until you start believing that you're worth more and you can charge more, only then will you attract people that will actually pay you what you're worth. The market will pay you whatever you demand, but your demand has to be in relation with your self-belief, your self-worth. Think about that, right? Don't be one of those businesses that crash out, right? Be a leader. Think about, how would Elon Musk be right now? How would any other person from the Shark Tank or Dragon's Den, how would they be thinking? If somebody else came into your business, somebody highly successful, maybe a billionaire, Mark Cuban or somebody like that, how would they run your business differently? What would they change about you? Forget the business. What would they change about the way you operate in terms of your mindset, in terms of your beliefs and the way you take action? How would they check? Would they be disgusted? Would you be embarrassed if, imagine there's a reality show on the way you ran your business and there was cameras everywhere following you around. Now, would you be uncomfortable at that being publicly shared on like fucking Netflix? Would you be embarrassed? Would you say, oh, I can't have this out there because this isn't how we run a business? Or would you be one of them people like, so yeah, bring them on. Right now in my business, I'd be happy if Netflix, if you're listening, come and film me, right? So I'd be happy the way I'm running my business. It's different to what it was 5 years ago. I'd be looking back now, I was embarrassed like the way I was running my business back then, right? But now, because I've grown, my expectations have grown, my beliefs have changed, and now I'm driving harder in my business. I'm becoming more of that aggressive leader where I'm driving the best out of my team, the best out of my clients, right? Because I don't want to be one of the percentage of people that fail, and neither should you be. So I hope you found this podcast valuable. So do that exercise. Like, look at some of the beliefs that you have about yourself that you may feel that are sabotaging your success, all right? So I'll see you on the next one.